Hi, my name is August Dunahu. I'm going to be 21 in a couple days, and my favorite color is blue. So, my Pokemon journey started when I was in elementary school. I think I was in third grade or so. My mom got me some Pokemon cards for my birthday, and I knew that I wanted to start collecting them. I knew that Pokemon was going to be one of the coolest things that I ever had. Unfortunately, some of those cards I traded away, and that's one of the big things I regret, because I had some pretty darn cool ones. I collected cards for quite a while during elementary school, and I mustered up a pretty good collection. About middle school, my eldest brother was going to go on a mission, so he actually gave me his whole collection, and that really I guess kicked off my journey of becoming a competitive Pokemon player. I really enjoy Pokemon because it's something that I found to be so complex, interesting, yet fun to play with. Super easy to learn, and really easy to love. All the Pokemon characters they're interesting, they have character. You can just figure out what your favorite one's gonna be just by looking at it. My favorite Pokemon has to be Sylveon. It's pink. I really like pink, and it's one of the evolutions. And I won a tournament with it when I worked at a store called Wabi Sabi. I got the job at Wabi Sabi when I was 15, and they wanted me to teach kids how to play Pokemon on Wednesdays and Saturdays. I immediately knew that it was going to be the dream job. This is something that I knew I was going to love. And I really cherished that job. Unfortunately, the store shut down due to COVID. But when I worked there, I made a ton of friends. I taught, during my whole time working at Wabi Sabi, I probably taught 200 kids how to play Pokemon. It really got me attached to the game as a player and just as a community member. I knew that the people I was teaching were going to have fun with it, and they were going to grow up with Pokemon and have sort of the same experience as I. As I got more and more into Pokemon, I found that the competitive side of Pokemon was something that I really enjoyed. Being able to stick with the current times of what's coming out with Pokemon cards, all the new sets, all the new cards, all the new mechanics, and sticking with people who want to be the best from what's new, what's coming out. I found that I really enjoyed that. I got into competitive play, and I went to my first regional in Portland. I think it was 2018. I went with a couple friends, and we had a blast. It was my first time going to a regional, so I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know all the vendors that were going to be there or just all the players in general. But it was such a cool experience, and I want to tell all Pokemon players that you should definitely go to a Pokemon regional. The original I went to was playing Expanded, and one of the most popular decks was a Dark Box deck. I think they called it like Turbo Dark back then, and it did a lot of damage. I think the main attacker was Darkrai EX. I think it did like 30 damage for each Darkness Energy, and I was playing I was playing Mew 3. It was a Mewtwo Mew box deck, and I got destroyed. But I still had a ton of fun because all of my friends that went did kind of about the same that I did. My first tournament win was actually at Wabi Sabi. One of my coworkers was actually holding the tournament, so I decided to play in it. And I won the tournament with Gardevoir Sylveon because Arceus Dialga Palkia was super big in the format. And, Fairy hits double for a Dragon Pokemon. In the Pokemon community, I love to watch Tricky Jim, and I love to listen to the Uncommon Energy podcast. I highly recommend it for competitive players or people who want to stick with standard Pokemon. They talk about, all the new events that are coming out, new cards, and they have a Guess That Flavor Text spot or bit that I think is pretty funny. I got into art when I was in high school. I really didn't care much for art before that. I would draw with crayons every once in a while just to feel that childhood experience of drawing with crayons. And it was, I think, my sophomore year, or I think it was my sophomore year, when I started getting into art. And art to me back then was a way to just, get your creative side out on a piece of paper to try and make something that, came from your mind. And towards the end of high school, when I was in my senior year, art was really a creative outlet for me when I wanted to turn a project into something that I wanted to do, something that I enjoyed. So a lot of my projects had my drawings in them. After high school, and the pandemic hit, I really didn't pick up art as much. I had started a different job as a deli clerk, and I just didn't really find the time to really take some time out of my day to do some art. But when I got when my art got revitalized was when I started getting into competitive Pokemon play. After COVID hit and I stopped working at Wabi Sabi, I really didn't play Pokemon as much. I still had my large collection, but no one really to share the fun of playing. I beat a lot of the people I played with, so it wasn't really something that people looked to play with me, which sucked. But I've learned now to not try as hard to win and just go for the fun in playing Pokemon. let's see. After COVID hit, I stopped playing, but I met these new guys that are now like really good friends, and I introduced them to Pokemon, like I've done with my family, all of my high school friends, and they basically got addicted to it. Like, we would play all the time. We would talk about new cards, new decks that are coming out, and that's when I realized that I want all these new cards that are coming out, but at the time I was living with just some friends because I moved out, and I didn't have like money to spend on Pokemon cards. Not really. I was actually selling some of my cards for my collection. So I decided to start drawing proxies of Pokemon cards. I started drawing proxies back in 2021, I think around February or March. And it's been a year and 3/4, about that long, since I started. Drawing Pokemon proxies is honestly like one of my favorite things to do. It allows me to, get the cards that I want and practice my like art. Let's see. So now that I've spent a year and 3/4, I can finally be, I'd honestly call it pretty good at drawing proxies. I started off with just pencils and colored pencils, and I found that doing the line art with like a pen just makes it look so much better, so much cleaner. And for a long time, the pens I was using were like really scratchy, or the ink in them would just not be as good as the pens I have now. I use Sharpie. What is it? It's just a Sharpie pen, and they work wonders. You can get really thin lines. You can get just thick lines. Usually I don't make thin stuff, but if I'm trying to be like detailed, then I try my best not to make the lines very thick. For the Rapidash that I'm proxying, it honestly was a lot of fun. I have a much easier time proxying Pokemon than I do cards like full arts. And I guess I can really blame that on just the amount of times that I've drawn Pokemon instead of full arts. With Rapidash, it was super easy to look for places in the card that were like very like specific, like Rapidash's horn, or Rapidash's eyes. They were like very easy to like know where that's going to be at in the Pokemon. The fire was also really nice to draw because of all the like slight curves and points. I could understand how long things are going to be, or just where things should be at. I also enjoyed with Rapidash the colors that I used. The red in the mane and tail just really pops on the card. You can't tell very well in the speed art, but there is like shades of yellow and shades of orange. All my cards are going to look better in person, but I also enjoyed the color palette that I'm using. The red pops with the dark blue that's on the plants, and Rapidash has a like a tan skin. Well, this, yeah, I'm guessing it's like sand around Rapidash is more of like a yellow. So on the card it looks nice. You can tell a slight difference, which is just all that you need in order for you to really see the Pokemon. I decided to proxy Rapidash because it's a new card that came out in I have a deck box in Silver Tempest, and I knew that it was a card that I'd be interested in. It has an ability that allows you to discard a fire energy from your hand on your turn, and your fire Pokemon do 30 more damage. Back in Black and White, or no, the EX era, or XY, I mean, there was a Pokemon called Volcanion EX who has basically the same ability, and Volcanion EX was really good, competitively viable, heavy hitter. So seeing that Rapidash has the same ability definitely got me interested in, what fire Pokemon we have in Standard now that could basically monopolize on this ability. And there was an old deck I built a while back. It was one of the first decks that I built after the pandemic. I built a cast form deck and a Suicune deck, and I think the next deck I built was Victini VMAX. I knew Victini VMAX just looks so good on paper. It does 220 damage to V Pokemon for just 2 energy, and I really think that that's been looked over recently. It was, I think it was pretty good back when it came out, but now, just because how power crept Pokemon is, it just doesn't seem like it would be that good anymore. We have V-Stars that hit for 330 if you can pull off the combo turn 2, which is just ridiculous to say. And Victini VMAX, now with this Rapidash, instead of just hitting for 220, you can easily hit upwards of 310 if you just use 2 Rapidash and like a Choice Belt on V Pokemon. I also think that it could be good with the new supporter that came out in Silver Tempest. The supporter being Serena. So the biggest thing about Victini VMAX when it came out was that turn 1 you'd attach your energy on Victini V, turn 2 you'd VMAX it, attach another energy, and then play boss to bring up a V Pokemon and just knock it out. Because, not all of V Pokemon have more than 220 HP. So with Serena coming out, that gives this deck a much higher level of consistency, and it just makes it so much easier to bring out the V Pokemon, because that's all you really want to hit into. And there's even more cards out now for Victini VMAX that I think could make it a deck to look at. There are cards like Magma Basin, which allows you to accelerate energy. Let's see, the new V-Guard energy that came out will let Victini VMAX just buff itself up. I think those are the cards that I'm definitely excited for this deck. There's also a new Radiant Eternatus coming out that I think I want to proxy to put into the deck as well. It's one of the newer cards, I think, coming out January, I believe. When you play it down to your bench, you get to search your deck for 2 VMAXs and play them onto your bench, and then your turn ends. So I think it would be incredibly busted to play Gloria or something in the deck, so you can search out your raiding Eternatus and 2 Ponyta, and then just play them all down turn 1, and then you have a full bench. 2 Ponyta that can evolve into your Rapidash, your Eternatus, and then you only need 2 Victini VMAX in a game. So I definitely think that this deck could just be fun to play. It could be very aggressive and really overlooked. I hope that everyone watching enjoys the speed art and especially the final product. I am very proud of this one. I definitely believe that my newer art or my latest proxies are some of my best, and I want to continue to just get better and better. I really hope that other people get into proxying cards. You know, if you don't have the money to go out there and buy yourself, 4 loot or 3 Lugia V-Star, because they're $25 each, then I'd proxy some if I were you. It's so much fun to experience Pokemon like at its fullest when you can just play with all the cards. I hope that you enjoyed the speed art, and I hope that I'll be a channel that you click on. Peace.